Rouge is an environmental nonprofit. We were founded in 1986, and sustainability at its core is sort of very much in line with our mission. My name is Marie McCormick. I'm the executive director with Friends of the Rouge. We're living in a society right now that is facing the very real consequences of climate change. In 1969, this river caught on fire. It was so dirty in the 60s because of unregulated point source pollution that an acetylene torch from one of the factories dropped on the river and caught it on fire. In 1972, we had the Clean Water Act, which was passed as a piece of legislation that was pivotal in changing the regulatory practices for businesses and industry to be more sustainable, to be more accountable for their output. Because of those regulations that were imposed by the federal government, industry has been forced to be more sustainable. We have to work together and find commonality and a vision for a river where it's the center of the community, where the natural spaces, the air, the soil, the plants, the water, it is the bottom line. It isn't secondary or on the side, but it is wrapped up into the culture, into the very way that we think about our society.
My name is Jennifer Hill. I'm the Executive Director of the Clinton River Watershed Council. The Clinton River Watershed Council has been around for more than 50 years. We work to protect, enhance, and celebrate the Clinton River, its watershed, and Lake St. Clair. And we do that through many different programs that we have. So we're doing it through stewardship work, where we're working with volunteers to clean up the river and green spaces within the watershed. We do it through restoration projects, restoring habitat, working to eliminate invasive species here in the watershed, and we do it through stormwater management. The biggest challenge that we face here in the Clinton River watershed, which we face all across Michigan, is climate change. So we are in a watershed that's being impacted by climate impacts, by more increased and heavier precipitation events, as well as longer, drier droughts. So the Clinton River watershed has more than 55% of the watershed, which is covered by impervious surfaces. So things like parking lots, roads, and driveways. And that means that stormwater has a really hard time getting back into the ground, recharging into groundwater, and instead it flows into storm drains and right back into the river. It picks up chemicals, salt, and other pollutants when that happens. And so our biggest challenge here in the Clinton River watershed is managing stormwater, which is only being exacerbated by climate change. So working with residents to install green infrastructure, either a tree, a rain barrel, or a rain garden on their property. We're working to install large-scale rain gardens, bioswales, bioretention ponds, all to trap that stormwater before it goes into the storm drain, which will also help with things like flooding here in the watershed, which is a big problem, and will increase our climate resilience through increasing pollinator habitat and doing things like decreasing heat islands for residents. People want to live in places that have healthy natural resources. They want to work in communities and with corporations and businesses that care about their environment, and that's where they want to raise their families. We've come a long way here in the Clinton River watershed. In the 1960s, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources did a fish survey from Lake St. Clair up to the city of Pontiac and did not find one living fish in the Clinton River. Now we host a diverse fishery throughout the river system. We also have had over $20 million of investment from the federal government through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative to improve habitat here in the Clinton River area of concern. One of the emerging concerns that we have here in the Clinton River watershed, and which really is impacting the whole Great Lakes region, are microplastics. So tiny bits of plastic that are either in things like cosmetics or are coming off of single-use plastics are being found in our rivers, lakes, and streams. So when water is flowing into the river system, when it's trapped by a green infrastructure project like a rain garden, The soil and the plants are able to help filter out those and catch those microplastics before they reach the river system. They also provide aesthetic beauty to the community around them and critical pollinator habitat that we need here in a densely populated area. So businesses do have a role in their parking lots and on their property to install green infrastructure installations to help with those problems. We have much work that still needs to be done to protect and restore the Great Lakes themselves. And so starting on the ground here in the Clinton River Watershed, that's one very important piece of a larger puzzle that we need to be working on to make sure that we have healthy, restored Great Lakes for generations to come.
Hi, I'm McKenzi Waliczek with Friends of the Detroit River. I serve as the Stewardship Director, and today we are at Lake Erie Metro Park. We've done about $50 million worth of habitat restoration projects that sustains and provides quality of life for the population around the greater Detroit area, as well as fish and wildlife. I see the most promising sustainable opportunities being tied into green infrastructure. We are in a very urbanized area that is likely to continue with development, and that's good for our economy, but we just want to make sure that we're being mindful with our growth and that when we have these new opportunities, we're integrating natural resources and the benefits of the habitat and fish and wildlife in these areas so the outcome is seen now and for future generations. The Detroit area has the highest population in the state of Michigan and one of the most densely confined areas. And so being mindful with how we interact with one another, as well as our natural landscaping, is really key.
I'm Rebecca Esselman. I'm the Executive Director at the Huron River Watershed Council. The mission of the Huron River Watershed Council is to protect and restore the Huron River for healthy and vibrant communities. And when I say communities, I mean both the ecosystem and all of our wildlife, but also the human communities that call the watershed home. So sustainability is critical to the work that we do and our ability to achieve our mission. If we aren't sustainably using our water, both from a quantity and a quality perspective, then it will no longer provide the services that it does for us, like recreation, clean drinking water, and wildlife. We have a couple of big sustainability issues when it comes to conserving fresh water. One of them is development. So we're in the Southeast Michigan region, and the Huron River has headwaters in our less developed areas, but there is development pressure. And we can develop in ways that are smart and protect our water resources, or we can sprawl and really damage our water resources. So, from a sustainability perspective, the Huron River Watershed Council thinks a lot about smart development and doing the best we can as we're adding housing and roads and infrastructure to make sure we are protecting this water resource that gives us all of these provisions like drinking water, recreation, and parks. Within the Huron River Watershed, there's both direct and indirect impacts for jobs. So we know the Huron River supports over 600 jobs directly for river-based economies. And this is like our liveries, our fly fishing outfitters, folks that are directly deriving economy from the river itself. But then there's also the indirect impact on jobs. So you think about where, quality of life factors. Where do people want to live? Where do people want to stay? Where do people want to relocate to? They want to relocate to places that are welcoming and inviting, and our natural resources are part of that equation. So I think that maintaining our forests, our waterways, our clean air and drinking water all play really critical roles in a company's ability to recruit talent, for our ability to retain talent within the state and maybe have people stay in the community once they graduate. One of the critical threats to our fresh water right now is toxics and contamination. So from a sustainability perspective and making sure our water is of high quality, is safe both to recreate in and to drink, We really need to get a handle on the way we deal with contamination. We need to clean up sites where there's legacy contamination. We have a case in the Huron River Watershed with 1,4-dioxane in Washtenaw County that's impacted the groundwater in such a way that it is no longer drinkable. If we don't get a handle on our carbon emissions and our reliance on fossil fuel, we will not have ecosystems to protect. And that's not hyperbolic, that's just the reality of things. And I would say that climate change and the solutions lie with us. We need individuals, we need communities, we need all governments, we need all corporations taking on climate change as a core value.